Good morning, Fraser. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. So before starting, because since it's a
Yep.
recorded Twitter space, I will just introduce a little bit what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So every week we're having a Twitter space where we bring in experts and passionate people about their fields, where they walk, which are related to crypto and blockchain, and these experts walk us through what they do and what they think about the space. So
Yep.
usually what we do, like it is recorded afterwards. We repost it as an audio wave animated video. And for this Twitter space, we would love to learn more about the creator economy, governance in the creator economy, and how does all that link to blockchain. But before getting into the topic, we'll probably just wait a few minutes, see if some members join.
Yep.
This is the first time we try to do a Twitter space this early,
Yep.
but I wanted to accommodate you because I have been following for a lot and I know that you have a lot to say.
Nice one. Yeah, that sounds really good. I guess just like the only disclaimer I would add is that obviously I was working with Melon for about a year. I'm no longer working with Melon, but I can talk about about Melon, about the challenges and what we were trying to do. I've kind of done a few other NFT bits since leaving. It's sort of I'm just curious as to if there's anything sort of really in particular that is like the main thing from your side that you'd like to know about.
Yeah, definitely. I prepared some questions
Perfect.
that would walk us through to our goal. Obviously, our DAO members, some of them probably know about the creator economy. What we're looking into is how NFTs fit into this whole new world that is creator economy, and how NFTs can be used for governance in this world, but also outside of this. And since you're saying that you had also experiences with NFT bits, as you call them,
Sorry,
it can be interesting to look into that. No, it means small things. It means small things. But I know that you're currently an entrepreneur at Antler, and you're looking for a co-founder to work on a project. So obviously we're expecting, people who follow you are expecting a lot from this experience, this journey.
Cool. No, that all sounds great.
And so, first of all, obviously, we would love to learn more about you. You said you worked with Melon for a year, but could you introduce yourself? Tell us more about you.
Yeah, sure. Really happy to. Great. Thank you for having me. So prior to getting into the NFT space about a year and a half ago, I'd had an interest in crypto for a long time, but I'd mostly had experience working in different SaaS and fast-growing startups for about 6 years. I'd mostly worked in customer-facing roles, things like business development, customer success, and basically become a manager in a couple of different sort of fast-growing tech companies. And actually, going back to a year and a half ago, I was recontacted by an entrepreneur that I'd previously worked with, who was looking to launch something basically at the intersection of two things that I thought were really cool. One was the creator economy, and new platforms like OnlyFans, Patreon, and then social media platforms. And then also the NFT space. So going back sort of to early last year, we'd seen the first really eye-catching sales of NFTs, things like the Beeple first 5,000 days first 5,000 days sale. We'd seen sort of the first celebrities selling their images and their likeness as NFTs, and the Jack Dorsey tweet as well that you guys might be aware of, that sold for $2.9 million. And so when I was approached by this entrepreneur, this founder, I was just really excited to take on the challenge of how do we apply the incredible amounts of money that are flowing into the space and the big interest in it to the creator economy. And what we came up with was basically a marketplace for social media content. So if you're a creator, you could sell either a new piece of content or any of your existing viral or popular content as an NFT, and that's what we came up with at Melon. My role at Melon was basically head of operations, a bit like a COO role. I went from onboarding the first creators to the platform and having those initial conversations about what would you like to sell as your NFT, how would you like to do it, through to actually hiring out the initial team and building, if you like, all of the processes on the basically non-technical side of the business. So that's what we did at Melon, and then more recently have spent some time consulting for Verse. You can find Verse at verse.works. They're a fine art NFT marketplace, so they're bringing top internationally recognized artists onto the blockchain to sell their first ever NFTs, and they've just launched. They've been doing really, really well. So I worked with them over the last couple of months, and now I'm actually basically taking the jump into building something new in the space. I'm basically looking for interesting problems to solve in the NFTs, and hopefully over the next couple of months we'll land on something and go from there.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we hope to see. And yeah, it's interesting. I saw you as I first met you as the director of operations at Melon,
Yep.
and at the time, I really found Melon as an interesting solution for creators who want to be closer to their community and have like sell them a piece of their identity. So that's how I saw it personally, and I really liked this idea. But yeah, you also kind of answered my second question: what is the creator economy? And you gave us like the examples of Patreon or OnlyFans, which are social media platforms that specialize in this creator economy. Now that you're going into NFTs, and you probably heard a lot about NFT governance, either from NFT projects who try to do it, or from the actually legitimate DeFi projects who use NFTs. What is your take about governance in the creator economy through NFTs?
Yeah. So I guess just to drill down a little bit further on the creator economy, you've got this industry which is estimated at something like $100 billion worldwide, because it includes such a broad range of people. It includes top influencers that can regularly make sort of millions per year for their identity, their brand, their likeness. All the way down to sort of, almost you or me, people with a couple of thousand followers who might post some content, might get paid for it occasionally, or these sort of micro influencers who maybe want to do it full time. So there's lots of different sectors within there. And so that's an interesting split, because it actually impacts kind of how we think about how those people should be selling NFTs, how they should be getting involved in crypto. What we took a view on at Melon is that the most interesting thing after doing an NFT drop is actually providing utility on top of that NFT drop. So it could be initially what we saw a lot last year with a lot of projects is you buy an NFT and then you get some kind of redeemable reward. And that could be anything from a piece of merchandise, a video call, something simple like that, all the way through to something really, really awesome, like getting to fly out and meet the actual creator, meet the influencer. And so that was what we saw last year, which is NFTs with utility. We think, and the team at Melon, even though I'm not working with them at the moment, or not working directly for the company anymore, what we really believe is that the next step is these sort of social or creator DAOs. So if you're a big creator, you will want to bring your community into a tokenized community. And from the creator side, what that allows you to do is obviously monetize that community and get paying memberships that are sort of verified on the blockchain, if you like. You'll have your list of wallet addresses that you can then bring into an enclosed space, but also over time offer rewards and benefits, and hopefully some financial value as well back to those people that support you. So a lot of the people kind of in the DAO space that I speak to think that it's just a matter of time before an absolutely huge name, someone like a Mr. Beast or someone like that with millions of followers or millions of subscribers on YouTube, it's only a matter of time until someone like that does it, and that could really open up the floodgates. On a more smaller level, we've seen musicians start to kind of explore this. So RAC, who's a DJ, has got his own token, and he's offering benefits to people that hold those tokens. So I guess there's a distinction between those that have launched a coin or are using something like Rally or CrowdPad to launch like a token, a sort of a coin-based community. And then there's those who've launched NFT projects with kind of utility and access. So do you want me to go a little bit more into kind of the governance and how that might play off?
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, and especially like now that you're also expanding on it, it's Melon wanted to do some ERC20 gated community, where creators are able to issue their ERC20 tokens.
Yes.
So this is like taking what is existing in blockchain projects and try to implement it in the creator economy. But in regards to NFT and the NFT technology, what do you see for governance directly linked to this kind of token? Because by being like, it's not an identity, but it can be an online identity or an online token collector item. It has a particular attachment from its holders. So obviously governance directly linked to NFTs is a topic that is not discussed a lot. So what are your thoughts about that, and how could you integrate that into what you were explaining?
Yeah, sure. So that's an interesting one. So I think what we've seen with NFT projects that have, let's say PFP projects, so really simple, like, you know, collectibles that have 10K, 5K editions. We've seen quite a lot of those suddenly realize, hang on, we've sold 5,000 of these. We've now got 5,000 or, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 holders. And we don't know what to do with this project, and we've got funds. And therefore they've used tools that, and I'm trying to recall the names of some of those tools, but basically said, we will make some decisions over the wallet and the funds from this project and give that to NFT owners, and on like a simple one NFT equals one vote method. And that's a way of like engaging those communities. But actually what should be happening and what will be happening increasingly is, from the very start, the projects will be saying, if you are buying into this project, if you own an NFT, you can vote on the direction of this project. You can vote on what the derivatives might be. You can vote on what the utility might be. You can vote on how different funds are spent, all kinds of different things like that. And then when you broaden that out and you realize that NFTs can be used as basically votes or voting tools, you realize that applies not just to sort of PFPs and stuff like that, but applies really broadly to brands, creators, and more. So if you're a brand, and I've been playing around with this quite a lot in my own time, you could offer customers or who've bought into NFTs or earned NFTs in different ways, you could offer them votes on shop locations, on new flavors of a drink if you sell a soft drink. And then if you're a creator, that also becomes really, really interesting. If you're like 1,000 true fans who've bought your NFT, you might offer those people the opportunity to vote on the types of content you make in the future. So if you're a YouTuber that's maybe thinking about filming quite an expensive piece of content, you could release an NFT collection and then offer the people that have bought into it the chance to decide what the content is that you make with those funds. And so from like a governance perspective, at Melon, we were keen to call this concept creator DAOs and put it in that bucket. I guess what I would say is DAOs, if you go on ethereum.org, are very much, an Ethereum Foundation website, you're very much looking at decentralization. Decentralization is the sort of key principle, whereas the reality is these are more like tokenized membership clubs. The decision making and the agenda setting and the kind of power to put things forward still sits with either the creator or the original platform that actually issued kind of issued those NFTs, and I think it's interesting because there's a lot of projects out there that are trying to figure out, can a truly decentralized creator DAO or other type of DAO really be effective in working? But I'm sure that's something that you guys have thought a lot about as well. Yeah, I guess that's where we see it going. And I think ultimately, if you've got loyal fans, bringing them into the conversation about what kind of content you want to see, what kind of events do you want, all of these different sort of aspects that fans of creators, whether they're musicians, gamers, influencers, want to see, the closer you can bring them into the conversation, the better. And there may be a financial reward to it as well.
Yeah, that's actually like the way we thought of it at Stable Unit. So it's very interesting to see external feedback, which ultimately validates our own theory about governance and NFTs. And I think that the tool you were referring to was Snapshot, because I think Snapshot also
that's one of them.
it handles also ERC 721 governance. So yeah, NFT technology is going to be used for governance. The example you gave for me makes total sense. Imagine being a brand and having the users, the customers actually decide for what they want in the future. That's actually the best kind of feedback. And I will just probably give another example from how I see it. If I see Apple, like if I buy an iPhone every year and I get an NFT for each year I purchase, and the next year I can vote on features. And since I got the iPhone for 10 consecutive years, I have X amount of voting power through an NFT. Obviously, it will push me to be loyal to that brand. Because every time I'm like, oh, I have this and I can decide for the future of this brand. So yeah, the examples you gave were spot on. And I think that's what we will see actually in the future.
Yeah, and I think there's also, I think you alluded to it as well, there's an identity piece, and there's an online identity piece that I think, those of us that have been in the space really, really value, which is that, and I've seen people on this call who've got NFT profile pictures. If you're a brand or if you're a creator, you are a part of your audience, your customer's life, and the ability to get in early on those trends before Instagram has rolled out NFT features, before all of these platforms have started to just open this up, the ability to be early in kind of shaping your customer's digital identity is absolutely massive. I guess that's my sense on sort of branding and identity in the digital world. We already have seen that younger people, I guess it's like anyone my age, I'm in my late 20s, anyone my age and younger, they're probably spending more money on online goods than they are on physical goods right now, in games, and in kind of different like metaverse, if you like, things like Fortnite or whatever. So, that being involved in that kind of space early is huge. I guess just sort of returning to the governance, the thing that maybe concerns me a little bit in terms of where we are right now, and I sort of alluded to it earlier, is that it is very, very centralized, and you've got a situation where you are slightly, if you're buying an NFT from a creator, you're not necessarily clear on how involved is that creator, or is it a promoter that's working with a platform to involve that creator, and what's the long-term commitment of that creator to their NFT job and to that execution, basically. And so that's something that I'm a little bit concerned about, is which projects actually have buy-in from the creator, not just the creators posted a tweet about it or an Instagram or a TikTok about it, but how can creators who are authentic say, right, I'm going to spend 5 years delivering this. Everyone who is watching me now, this is your chance to get involved. This is what we're going to do together. And that's sort of one of my main concerns, I suppose, about governance.
Yeah, I think that's also an interesting point, because this is, I think, a mistake for NFT project governance included or aside, is that there's no specific timeline given. Like people say, yeah, we want to do this, but there's a budget. and that budget will define what you actually can do. So saying you will be there for the next 100 years is not realistic, whether you do governance in your NFT project or not.
Yeah, and I think when you think about some of the most successful NFT projects, as much as people have their opinions on him, Gary Vaynerchuk's project, VFriends, is one of the most successful projects, and it's because internally, I know people in his team, they had alignment on this is what we're going to build. It's going to be conferences for 1, 2, 3 years. There's going to be this execution that's required. And externally, as a fan, you knew that was what was being delivered. That was the timeline. Now, obviously, people want to speculate on it in the short term and expect things quickly, and debate the value that they're getting straight away and the price and all of this stuff. But ultimately, the reason why some of those projects succeed is that from the start, internally and externally, they've had that defined process. Whereas a lot of projects, like I referenced earlier, have sold a PFP and then suddenly gone, oh, actually, we've got a community here. What should we do with it? Should we try and give them a derivative? Should we try and do a game? And trying to do that afterwards is very, very hard. But having a community and governance and a purpose in place from the beginning, I think, is what's going to set the most successful projects apart.
Indeed, and that's a huge question we have at Stable Unit. Even though we're focused in DeFi and what we're building is linked to DeFi, we want to use NFTs for governance. So obviously, we intersect with the NFT community that way. Our focus is obviously not the visual, but just I will just explain briefly how we envision it. We envision a governance using like 50% of the governance being the ERC20 governance token, and half the governance being the contributors, key opinion leaders, and people who want to advance the industry. That way, we're kind of sure that what we're making will end up being a public good. And that's how we envision NFT governance for DeFi. How do you see NFTs getting into DeFi, and how do you see them getting used in governance?
Yeah, I think I'm sure I have a really strong view on kind of NFT usage in DeFi, or if I have a really strong kind of experience of it. I guess one thing that's definitely a challenge is participation, and I know that we've seen some big news just as we're talking this week about kind of voters in DAOs looking to do things that maybe they shouldn't. But I think if you've got an audience that's motivated by not only the significance of the choices they're making, but also just the actual like subject matter, then they are a good place to use. It's a good occasion to kind of use the NFTs for decision making. So when you think about, and I'll go back to the creator economy, you've bought the NFT from a creator because you care about them, because you support them, you're interested in their content and what they do, and you want to show that. Therefore, if there's a big vote or a big decision and there's participation required, you're likely to have quite a lot of motivation to do something in that community. I guess what we see in a lot of voting is the time that you can vote and the outputs of it just are not structured very well. So it's just something to be aware of. I guess in terms of DeFi and maybe broaden that out to platforms. Last year, we started to see a lot of NFT platforms, for example, selling access passes as NFTs. And these access passes might be called VIP passes, golden tickets, things like that gave you access to use certain tools, whether it was analytics tools, NFT marketplaces, all kinds of different things. And so there's definitely something around using an NFT and reading that in your wallet and gating, either access to certain solutions or even the best rewards from certain solutions. So I'll give an example. If you were to buy, let's say, a VIP pass for an NFT marketplace, you might get discounted selling fees. Maybe your listings could appear higher in an NFT marketplace. I think that's something really interesting. And so if you're early to a given platform and you buy into it with an NFT, maybe you can get a reward back for that as well. So that's something that I maybe know a little bit more about than kind of the DeFi world and the governance behind it. That's okay.
No, but that's actually a great point, because what you're kind of saying is that it's not only about paying the voters, like It's about giving them utility in a form of advantages on the platform. So obviously, like, it's pushing these people to care, telling them, okay, you get this, you can use this as long as you have this NFT, but by using this, by getting this utility, you also have to vote, you also have to go participate, because if you don't participate, the people who do can ruin it for you or make it better. So you have to participate to make your voice heard.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, just a sort of final point on that, in any community I've had, whether it's an NFT community or even kind of platforms and stuff like that I follow, there's always in the community some voices that are a lot louder and more vocal, and then there's other people that are participating in hundreds of different communities, and it's actually, it's difficult sometimes to kind of just step in as a casual observer. So there needs to be kind of ways of accessibility for people that are not super deep in a project, but they still want to have a voice, they still want to get involved in a project. So I think that's something that's not quite figured out yet as well.
Yeah, how to onboard users without like letting older users or previous users intimidate them.
Yeah, and it's also just time. If we think that DAOs are something that is going to be, and I've heard people say that DAOs are going to be the next killer app. If NFTs were kind of one killer app for crypto and blockchain, people think that DAOs are that, and that's coming soon. You're going to be in, dozens of DAOs, maybe even hundreds within a couple of years, and you're going to want to make your voice heard, but it can't be a full-time job. You can't be having to make these decisions the whole time, and you also want to be able to make the right decision. Sometimes, these proposals can be quite complex, and the decision-making behind it is quite significant. So all of that sort of onboarding, like you say, and then experience distilling all this information, it needs to be designed with that end user in mind and just be really, really customer focused.
Yeah, I love this. I love this word, customer focused, customer centric, and I think that's what NFT or DeFi projects should abide by when it comes to marketing, and also when it comes to DAO building. So I got your take about DAOs and governance, even though you said you do not specialize in DeFi, you do not have any specific expertise in DeFi. I still think that your take is very valuable, because what we see is that NFT communities, even without incentivizing participation, they have higher engagement in their communities. They have people talking about everything and caring about the project. While in DeFi, when you look at MakerDAO, which is one of the biggest DAOs, and you look at the participation on their socials, their engagement rates, they're quite low. So obviously, to bootstrap governance and to make new player participate, you have to make it customer centric. You have to make it easy to understand and easy to vote. So it's all about user experience at the end.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is maybe too broad a comment, but the whole of crypto needs better customer centricity. It needs more thought to, obviously from a technical perspective, the UI, UX, that side of it, and the sort of learning curve is very, very steep, as well as the actual technical challenges to kind of get you there, and the financial challenges as well to take a meaningful position in NFTs is a big financial undertaking. So yeah, I'd include that as well.
We also have now an NFT creator that we're going to partner with, Codetown NFT. We're really, it's a new player in the game, and we're really proud to partner with them. And obviously, we want to support them in the future. But which advice would you give to a new NFT project that want to be community centric, and especially if you have any advice related to governance and how to implement it for a totally new player?
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of, I go back to my first piece of advice in terms of attracting people to your community. I think about why are you doing this and what's it for? What is the purpose of this project? If the purpose of the project is to support a creator over this timeline and do these things with that creator, then that's great. Then talk about that. If it's to launch a brand or launch a physical space or physical like members club, I've seen that done as well. Then be clear on that. And also just again those time horizons. When can people who buy in expect the utility, expect to be involved, expect to be asked those questions? Because ultimately, if people are paying to get into something and there's a certain time frame, they'll write that down. They'll note that down. They'll look in their diary and say, okay, I know that I'm going to have to participate at this point, or I should expect to do something at this point. So there's that aspect. And from a governance perspective, I think about, and this is a guess, I don't yet have the kind of data to back this up, but I think about what are the ways that we can start with like almost micro decisions or micro interactions, so people in the community can start to participate, and we can kind of see that concept of, people are going to, the holders are going to vote on this decision, on, if it's a brand, like a small decision about kind of colors or social media announcements or competitions and prizes and stuff like that. And then once you've actually built that kind of culture of engagement, I think it then makes sense to layer in some bigger decisions that you really focus all of your marketing on, saying, look, there's a huge decision coming up. You need to be ready. And there's multiple touch points with people on that journey. That's kind of my final thing, would just be multiple touch points. Projects can live in Discord to some extent if people want to go and chat there and interact with each other. But in terms of getting the word out that big things are happening, I'm in 50 plus Discords. I don't read all the announcements, even the big announcements. So I need to be contacted and in a more holistic kind of marketing way, whether it's Twitter, whether it's email, whether it's something else. So I'd encourage projects to think a little bit about that as well. Like, what is my way of reaching the community? So yeah, I guess that's it in summary. Sort of building up with the decision making, building that habit amongst the community, and then making sure they're aware of like what those key milestones are that you want them involved with.
Yeah, that's a very great advice. I will probably take 1 or 2 minutes more of your time for one last question, because I remember joining the Melon Discord and seeing that you were marketing managers in Melon were trying different ways to increase engagement, such as Twitter rates, if you remember.
Yeah.
So what is your feedback about these strategies to increase the participation? Because it's kind of micro participation. Twitter rates is not, you're not asking for people to do something huge, but you're kind of teaching them that they can do small actions and win something. And after that, like, it creates a sense of belonging slowly.
Yeah, so I think, like you say, that final point, you want to create familiar faces, people that see each other in the Discord again and again, and that see you and your team in the Discord again and again, and want to have those conversations. I guess more specifically from like a raid and a competition perspective, it really depends on your audience. So this Verse, who are this fine art marketplace, the NFT marketplace I've been working with, their audience is major NFT buyers and art enthusiasts. So people spending, half an ETH, 1 ETH on art pieces. Those types of people, unlikely to go and do a raid and unlikely to go and shill or post or hype your project. However, they are happy to go and like things, retweet, engage with content, share it with their friends in if you like a non-spammy way. And so it's just a different message and a different language, if you like, for that audience versus, people that are maybe buying kind of different altcoins who are happy to win, $10 in a certain coin because to them that's an interesting reward, and they're happy to kind of like promote things and speculate on things. So I think it's really just reading that audience and thinking about, how does it fit in more holistically with your brand? And it's something that you alluded to at Melon, that we experimented with a lot of different ways. We tended to find that the lowest value giveaways and the lowest value activities, they just didn't attract good enough quality supporters. So there's a big learning there. You know, who are you trying to reach? Who's in your audience already? You've really got to tailor the strategy to those people. So that was a big learning for us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciated also this point about Melon, because I saw that you tried many things, you had many experimentations, and it's definitely valuable for as a return of experience for builders and for every DAO members that is building something in Web3 and will be listening to this recording. So I will thank you, because I know that you may have other things to do, and I thank you very much for allocating this time for our DAO. We really appreciate that. I would just ask if Co-Town has any questions, since she joined. If you have any question, just raise your hand. Well, I don't think there's any additional question, but I really appreciated having you on. I want you to know that these takes that you shared will definitely be used by us, by our DAO members, and we really appreciate that. Thank you very much again for joining us, Fraser.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. Good to catch up.
Thank you again, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. One last thing regarding our governance, and DAO management. We're participating in New York, so from today to Sunday, and we'll be actually focusing on building something that is linked to DAO participation. So stay tuned in our DAO to learn more about it. It will be probably will be a fun thing to develop. Thank you again, and take care, guys. See you next week for our next Twitter space. Thank you very much, Fraser.
Cool. Thanks.